Today we're going to learn about rewriting core classes. Let's say that we want to change getChildren method inside of Mage, Catalog, Model, Category. This method returns direct children of a category as a comma-separated string, and we want it to return an array, for example. I'll show you very quickly how it works in a testing file we're using. So, category equals, I need to instantiate a category model by calling mage : getModel, and I'll pass catalog as the first portion because we know from the previous lesson it's gonna return mage _ catalog _ model, and to complete the class name I'm gonna pass /category as a second portion. Okay, we have a new category object stored in this variable, and I'll simply var dump whatever we get from the getChildren method. Let's try in the browser. We see an empty string, which I was actually expecting, and that's because we didn't specify for what category we want to get its children. Right now, this category object is not fully set. It has a lot of null and empty properties, but if we call load on category, this method expects an ID of category we are trying to load from the database, so I'll put 3 because I know it's the root category ID. And by the way, all categories are listed under Catalog, Manage Categories in the dashboard. So we see that root category has the ID of 3 and it also has 3 children. Alright, so we should have a root category object by now, and we'll talk more about getting data from the database a little bit later. For now, just bear with me. I'll refresh test.php in the browser, and we get comma-separated string. So, how do we change getChildren method to return an array? The simplest and most natural way for newcomers will be to make changes in the file directly, so we only need to remove the implode function like this. Let's try once again in the browser. And of course we got an array of children categories. So we achieved our goal, it all works perfectly, but there's one big problem with this approach. Think about what happens when you upgrade Magento. All new files will replace the old ones, and if they change the file you changed to, in this case category model, all of your work will be lost. If you don't want to lose your work, please never do modifications in this way. So how do we make modifications then? If you've been reading Magento blogs and forums for a while, there are 2 other ways of changing core functionality. We were talking about the autoloader and how it works, but I haven't told you one very important fact that Magento, under Mage.php, sets its PHP includes to first look in app code local, then app code community, and finally in app code core. This has the effect that any files of the same name placed under the local or community code pool will take precedence in loading, and a lot of people use this behavior for overriding files. Let me just show you this in action, because that's the best way I can explain. I'll remove the change in getChildren method we did before, and create the same file in the local folder under the same directory path. Pay attention, it's very important to be the same path. So, the original file is under core, mage, catalog, model. And we are going to create the same folder structure under local code pool, so we need catalog folder, and inside of that model folder, and here we create a file category.php with the same content as original. I'm going to copy all methods from core file, and once the overridden file is in place, that's the code Magento will be using, because of those includes in Mage.php. I'll put a die inside of getChildren, so if it works, we should see test. I'll try in the browser, and yes, we see test from die in the local category model version, because Magento autoloader searches for Mage Catalog Model Category class in local folder first, and because it's there, Magento used that code. Otherwise, if the file could not be found, the system will look in the community and finally in the core code pool. So this is one possible way how we can safely make all modifications in the local or even in the community code pool without touching the core files at all. So, can we make sure that our customizations are going to be preserved after Magento version upgrade using this approach? Well, yeah, indeed it's true. But what if a new Magento version has changes in some files we have previously overridden? What if they have new methods or bug fixes in existing ones? Since our override will always take precedence, these new features and fixes will never be reached. So it seems this approach isn't good enough, and there must be even better way of doing this. And of course there is. Magento gives you the ability to rewrite core functionality in the configuration XML, as you probably expect by now. All big things start right in the XML. So let's go step by step through this. I'm going to delete Mage from local namespace and refresh the browser just to make sure we see the default behavior from the beginning. Okay, we got comma separated string, and now we are going to create a new module. It's a good idea to repeat this process over and over again while learning. The first thing we are going to do is to create module registration file in app etc modules folder. We can give whatever name we like, but I'll follow the convention namespace underscore module name and call it tats+ underscore catalog.xml because we are building catalog module in tats+ namespace. Now I'll paste the code we've already seen with two important notes. First, remember this node has to match the file path, so that's why we have tats+ underscore catalog here. And second, Magento is case sensitive, so don't forget to uppercase P in the code pull string. Back to local folder, I'll create catalog module with two subfolders, etc for our configuration and models for our model class. In config XML, we'll have standard things we've been discussing about, like config, global, models. Next few nodes are new and important, so pay attention. We'll put a catalog node, which already exists in the catalog module's config XML file, and immediately after rewrite node, which is the parent of category node. What we are telling Magento here is this. Whenever a category model is being instantiated, use my class instead of the core class. So under category, we are going to add a full class name, tats+ underscore catalog underscore model underscore category. This class doesn't exist yet, but we'll create in a minute. And the consequence of doing this is that Magento will not read the class node to get the class group name like it would normally do, but instantiate the class under rewrite. Just for your information, this class name can be any name you want, as long as the autoloader can find it, but the best practice is to follow the conventions and give it a meaningful name. That is all very simple, but takes a little while to get used to. Just remember these things when rewriting. This node will always be models, helpers or blocks, depending on object type you are rewriting. This is class group name, or the string before slash in the factory method. And this refers to the class to override, it represents the string after the slash in a factory method. Once we have a rewrite node in place, we need to create the class which we've specified here. I'll save as category.php, and don't forget to extend from the original class, it's vital. This way your new class has the functionality from the original class, and we can rewrite only methods that need to be changed. In our case, it's getChildren. That's another big advantage in comparison to the previous approach, where this wasn't possible. You needed to copy the whole content, otherwise methods you don't copy will be lost, because Magento never goes again to the original core file. And by copying all methods, it's not very clear what is actually overridden. So I think we have everything ready to test, and it works as expected. This is how we rewrite core model classes in Magento. The exact same process applies to helpers and blocks, you only need a different class types in configuration. Controllers are a little bit different, but we'll touch that in the section dedicated to them. In case you'd like to try these things on your own, I'll give you an assignment to rewrite getCustomerName method inside of CustomerDataHelper. Make it return the name with all capital letters. I highly recommend reviewing this lesson a couple of times if you didn't understand everything immediately. Class rewriting is very important, I'd say a fundamental thing every Magento developer should know in the middle of the night, because every now and then there is a need to change something, but it's very easy to do that wrong way or in a way which will make difficult to upgrade the system later. So again, pay a special attention to this lesson, and in the next lesson we will focus on events and observers and see when class rewrites are not the best solution. I hope you're excited to find out why, so join me in the next lesson.